Oh, hey there. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Nick. This is Got Studs, and we're cutting through the BS in home building. All right, I feel like this is one that we got to discuss. The difference between an indecision and changing your mind on a custom home build. We got to talk about this. One's going to cost you time, one's going to cost you money. Well, cost you time and money. So let's talk about indecision. In fact, all right, this one's going to make me do it. I'm going to have to do it. Yep, I know I'm driving, but we're putting the hat on, folks. We're putting the hat on. Yep, this is one of those kind of topics where it needs it. So today's topic, the difference between an indecision and changing your mind when it comes to building a custom home. Now, this could apply to remodels, I guess some DIY projects also. But let's talk about what an indecision is and how it relates to affecting the outcome of a build. An indecision is a decision that hasn't been chosen yet. Yeah, I just came up with that. Does that make you, I don't even think that makes any sense. A decision that hasn't been chosen yet. I guess that does make sense. Okay, so how does it affect the build? Well, it's going to stop everything. Let's give you an example of what an indecision looks like. During a custom home build, you're gonna go through what we call design phase in the beginning. The design phase is usually where you're gonna make all your choices. Some will be left out, particularly like tile choices, sometimes paint choices. Sometimes you want to see the house sort of evolve and develop before you make decisions on things that will be permanently attached to the walls. Now, nothing's permanent in a home, but you know where I'm going with this. Some things do get left off until you get to a certain point. I'm going to give you one example of one. Tile backsplash. A lot of homeowners will opt to leave the tile backsplash off, or excuse me, not choose a tile backsplash until the kitchen's put together. Basically, the cabinets have been all installed, your countertops are in, and you get to see sort of the layout. And it makes a lot of sense for a homeowner or designer, whoever's in charge of that particular build, to come in, weigh the options, and then make the decision. And that's just one example, but let's dive a little bit deeper into that. Well, the issue becomes, let's say you haven't made a decision and a couple weeks have gone by. You're going to be holding up the show. Trades that need to go in there to finish trim out, for example, plumbing trim out, electrical trim out. Plumbers usually like the backsplash to be done in a kitchen prior to putting their faucet in. Or let's do it the other way around. Tile installers like to put the backsplash in before they trim out any of the sink fixtures. Electricians really can't do anything with it until the tile backsplash is in, as far as like trimming out the electrical outlets. And those things don't seem very major, but trades want to come in. Typically, they'll want to come back all at one time to wrap up their stuff. You certainly won't be able to pass final inspections or call in final inspections until those things are wrapped up. Not making a decision or taking 2 or 3 weeks to make a decision on a tile backsplash selection can cost the project 4 to 6 weeks sometimes. Now, that's not always the case, but let's talk about changing your mind. Changing your mind is something that will cost you usually just money and some time. Changing your mind is a perfectly normal thing on a custom home build. Look, this is a huge personal investment to buy a custom home. So, of course, you want it to be right. But occasionally, you're going to have something painted or a drywall texture or a floor selection. This is a tough one, but sometimes even a window selection be wrong, be not what you thought it was going to be. And so changing your mind on those things, if the decision is made quickly, will likely just only cost you money. And yes, it will cost you some time, but not near as much as it would if you weren't making a decision at all. Let's talk about combining the two. Not making a decision and changing your mind. Or excuse me, or the other way around. You change your mind and you can't make a decision. Now this is gonna cost you time, money, and a lot of stress. Ask me how I know. When it comes down to the end of the project, what matters the most is that you get what you want, that you get what you pay for. Now here's some exceptions to what I'm talking about. Some things, especially when you make decisions on items, a year before the ground even cracks on the project, those items can either be discontinued or out of stock. That's out of your control. That's not something that you can plan on. And most of the time, your builder is going to factor that in. Like, we understand that there's going to be times where hardware for doors, certain electrical fixtures, plumbing fixtures that you liked and chose a year prior to us getting to that point in the build may no longer exist. So yes, now you have to go back to the drawing board, go back to it, make a decision on what's the closest option to that, and then hopefully get it turned around and get it ordered and back into the cycle. Nothing about changing your mind is wrong, but changing your mind and not making a decision is a terrible idea on a custom home build, because you're going to factor in weeks, if not months, of the build that you weren't planning on. And what seems like in the moment not that big of a deal, because typically it's what's a week, what's 2 weeks, what's a month, because I'm sitting here on a decision that I can't make, or because I changed my mind on something and now I can't make up my mind. The way that this factors in is at the end. Conveniently, we all tend to forget exactly what we were doing during the project, right? 6, 7, 8 months in, what a big deal. So what's the big deal? We spent a couple weeks making a decision on something. Some people tend to forget at the end of the project that, wow, this is taking a few months longer than we anticipated. You told me it would maybe take 10, 12 months to build this house, and now we're in month 14, 15, 16. Well, because all those little things that were in our control, not out of our control, but in our control, choices, decisions, changing our mind, but making those choices and making those decisions in a timely manner. So just remember this, making a decision is the best way to save time and money on a project. Progress, not perfection, is always what we're looking for on a custom home build. And again, it goes back to this. This is your house, this is your money, this is your investment. You want to get it right. But what I want to set straight is the expectation, right? So when we get to the end of a project and mysteriously a few extra months have been added on, well, kind of got to go back and see, well, here's where we stopped the project for 22 days because we couldn't figure out what backsplash we wanted. Here's where a project took the turn because we had cabinets picked, they were ordered and delivered to the installer, but now we don't want that color. So we want to change our mind and go back to that. Now, all those little things like that will stretch the project out, and when you get to the end, just realize this compounds. A week here, a few weeks there, a few days there, ends up being months at the end of the project. Do me a huge favor, keep that in mind. If you're new to the home building process, never gone through it before, or you're working with a builder, or maybe you're new as a builder or superintendent, whatever it is, whatever the case is, just realize when you get to the point of, hey, I need to make a choice here, be ready to make decisions quickly and have backups. This is something that's never really talked about. Have something else lined up, ready to go in case that doesn't work out. What if those windows got discontinued? What if that hardware that you really love got discontinued? Be ready with something else to go with. Look, I'm glad you stuck around. This is Nick with Got Studs, where we're cutting through the BS in home building. Thank you for watching. Look, if you've ever been a part of a home building process, you got to the end, or you got to a point where a decision couldn't be made, or someone was changing their mind a whole lot, and you got a little frustrated with that, whether you be the homeowner or the builder or the super, whoever it is, wherever it was during the project, hit that comment down below. Love to hear about it. And stick around. My goal for this channel is to be dropping an episode every week to dive into the pain points when it comes to building homes. I'm Nick. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next project.